Welcome, greetings. It's a pleasure and an honor to be connected. As we talked about last time, you are the best in the world in a range of areas, and I immensely appreciate the opportunity to be connected. Especially now, of all the videos currently planned, this is the most important, though the next several are close contenders. If you find yourself in agreement with the basic premise of this video, as I expect the vast majority of you will be richly rewarded, and it will be the honor of my lifetime to introduce what comes next. And if you feel compelled to review this material in greater depth, that is completely understandable. To look deeply into yourself at who you are and what you believe and who you can become, to grow in wisdom, compassion, pure selflessness, pure love, that is a greater gift than anything that I or anyone else could ever give to you. The openness of your heart and the courage to embrace truth are gifts that only you can give yourself, and they are always just the blink of an eye away as soon as you are ready to receive them. The world's biggest problem, the need for harmony, is largely already solved. Let me explain. We can conceptualize humanity's most basic outlooks in three broad categories: religions and or belief sets, atheism and or neutrality, and self-care. More importantly, we can describe each of these perspectives by their advantages. Religions and belief systems serve with organizational efficiencies, atheism and neutrality serve with the immediacy and continuity, and self-care involves upfront personal capacity that then makes it easier to help others, though with limited depth. Now you could say, does self-care really involve helping others? If you take it to its logical conclusion, the answer is yes. Once you have enough, the next challenge would be to help others. It may be something as shallow as throwing a party where you want your guests to be happy, again, limited depth, or the situation could involve being a tycoon and finding personal success so boring that you then want to find it for others. The situation may be clearer if we remove the stigmatisms of the titles in blue and focus on the functional meanings in green. There's a good chance that most people have perspectives that are combinations of all of these attributes. There's value in planning to capture attainable efficiencies, yet at a certain stage it's important to step beyond the classroom and start delivering results. At the same time, if you don't get enough sleep or food, or if you don't bathe, you probably won't get too far in terms of helping others. But do you see the commonality here? Regardless of which religion or belief system we're talking about, or whether it's atheism or neutrality or self-care or any combination of these, ultimately they all condense to service. Ultimately, they all condense to the final value of love. So with love ultimately being the highest priority, the truth is that we already agree on what matters most. So let's not focus upon or bicker about what we all agree matters less. Or if that's not comfortable for you, let's think about it this way. If pure, unconditional love is not our highest priority, shouldn't it be? I would venture to say that love is one of the most oversimplified values in the world. So let's detail what love is about. Pure, unconditional love is selfless, not selfish. It is giving, not demanding, supportive, not threatening. It is respectful, not judgmental. Pure, unconditional love is service-seeking, not glory-seeking. It sees you as a miracle, not as defective. Pure love fosters courage, not subordination. Love is selflessness. Pure love sees us just as we see a little baby, as a miracle, as worthy of endless support, and as worthy of exercising its courage to reach its full unique potential. Love does not demand things and threaten you otherwise. So love is not like a rookie bank robber. Love is not TV's Archie Bunker. Love is not intolerance. Pure, unconditional love is selflessness. And as we talked about earlier, it is innate, it is everywhere in various forms, and it always prevails in the long run. Now you could say, if love is everywhere and innate, how can demands and threats and intolerance exist to begin with? And the answer is that in the long run, love always prevails. We'll talk more about this in a moment. But that being the case, as we look at larger and larger perspectives of reality, say at the universe altogether, is anything else ultimately operative at all? In the previous video, we talked about the difference between the mind and the heart. The mind being a calculating resource that specializes in precision, and the heart being a giving resource that specializes in accuracy. We looked at the worst case scenarios with both, and we established that we would rather focus upon the heart and risk being only vaguely accurate, rather than focus upon the mind and risk being precisely wrong. So let's take a look now at how the mind and the heart may be involved in establishing our values. From the standpoint of the mind, it would be rational to begin by applying expertise in resolving many centuries of church and state conflict of interest entanglements, to apply expertise in comparative analyses of all the world's major religions and belief systems, and to apply expertise in archaeological analyses to ascertain historical and metaphysical events thousands of years after the fact. And if this is the primary avenue to the establishment of your values, you're probably one of the greatest professors who's ever lived. On the other hand, if you've simply followed your heart, that's even more to your credit. From the perspective of your heart, you may feel love resonating within you, innately recognize that the love is true, and consider the love sacred. So why do you believe what you do? Is it an exercise of the mind or of the heart? Love is inherently true, and communities of love should never be taken away from you. Yet institutional bigotry in the form of exclusivity, threats, and word models and doctrines of the mind should not be permitted to subvert the innate sanctity of the love within you. So let's spell it out. Be wary of institutional contamination of pure love in the forms of exclusivity, threats, and intimidation based upon unnecessary word models of the mind. Do not conflate these perspectives, as they are liable to be complete opposites. Earlier, we spoke about how love always prevails in the long run. Let's look at a few illustrations of how this plays out. Let's imagine a highway. Say you're the red car in the middle lane. The cars in the fast lane are getting ahead of you, and from your perspective appear to be moving forward. Let's call those good. And the cars in the slow lane from your perspective appear to be moving behind you. Let's call those evil. Yet from a more objective perspective, standing still, all of the cars on the highway are moving forward. Or another way of looking at this is that you're moving forward good relative to the cars in the slow lane. At the same time, you're moving backward evil relative to the cars in the fast lane. Again, good and evil are relative terms. Or another analogy would be that what's considered good behavior by a teenager may be considered bad behavior by a saint, because the perspectives are relative. But everybody is learning and growing at their own pace. Along these lines, let's imagine a car with a strong GPS system versus a weak system, or a robotic vacuum cleaner with strong programming versus weak programming. And they're off. The one in yellow reaches its destination directly, while the one in blue takes a longer route. Yet the point is that both ultimately arrive. They just learn in different ways. In the long run, it's ultimately self-destructive not to eventually learn. You may say, well, what about somebody who doesn't seem to learn anything over the course of their life? What about Hitler? Well, let's look at the afterlife. How does Hitler go about making friends, unless he changes his ways and learns from his mistakes? Or if you don't subscribe to an afterlife, just look at his legacy here. Any good? The world just looked at complete failure, decided we're going the opposite direction, and although millions died in the short run, billions of lives have lived in relative peace since then. Love is an ice cube. You can try to submerge it, try to hold it under the water, but it's just going to pop to the surface and prevail in the long run. So in studying reality, should we be concerned about the surface condition, the rise and fall of waves, or should we consider the entire miles-long depth of the ocean, that stable body of love that always prevails? Even situations that we don't like in the short run, what's the lesson within them? Can they be conceptualized as an angry coach yelling at us? Or as a teacher with an unwanted pop quiz? What's our opportunity to grow? Would it be most easily achieved by helping others grow, especially those in need of light? Let's talk about truth. Truth is constantly unfolding. This is a reason why we value news. To consider truth fixed is to stop learning, to progressively abandon it, and to ultimately oppose it. As we talked about in the previous video, each of us has a unique body of relationships, experiences, and perspectives that make us the solitary expert in a certain area. If we don't contribute our unique potential for the greater good, nobody else will, because nobody else can. Getting back to those robotic vacuum cleaners, we each pick up different nuances along the way, which are helpful in the future as we continue to exchange lessons with one another. Diversity exists so that we stay kind, loving, caring people as we interdependently grow together. The most important type of diversity is that which is closest to the core of who we are, spiritual diversity. You would never clip the wings from a butterfly. That would be the cruelest thing you could do. And you would never want to steamroll spiritual diversity and militaristically stamp everyone into a cookie-cutter shape. That would be to destroy the most sacred uniqueness of who each person is, and their most sacred potential for the greater good. It would make them spiritually redundant and correspondingly unnecessary. Again, the most important type of diversity is that which is closest to the core of who we are, spiritual diversity. What is spirituality? The pursuit of our most sacred values. And with this, another insight comes to light. Spirituality and creativity are the same thing. Having a strong enough personal relationship with the broader universe of love that you can be confident in doing your job of humbly, open-mindedly, uniquely, and courageously taking limited risks in collaboratively building a better future for all, knowing that even if the results don't turn out as you desire, you will be especially loved and supported for at least trying. Let's return to where we started. Regardless of our vantage point, religion, beliefs, atheism, neutrality, initial sufficiency, or any combination of these, the inevitable conclusion and the ultimate highest priority is simply love. The world's biggest problems will not be solved by Middle East ambassadors. They will be solved by the good sense and selflessness within our own hearts. The lesson of being loving is innately learned nearly as soon as we enter this world, as the basis of exchange of our nourishment to grow. Let this be your North Star. All of the world's major religions and belief systems reduce to love. Thrive in love, and you're there. Everything else is just subordinate experience, local to our little Earth. It's a big, big universe out there, and we would do well to conceptualize reality from that perspective. Just as centuries ago we agreed that the sun does not revolve around the Earth, neither does the universe. We would do well to focus upon the fundamental governance of pure love. Should we find that we are not alone in the universe, we do not want to be seen as bigoted and self-centered, with a paradigm that pertains only to our little Earth and addresses the rest of the known universe with ignorance, bigotry, and alienation. Let this be your North Star. We would do well to internalize the universal truth that love is the greatest power and that everyone is family.